Hey, Margie here. Have you ever found yourself eating for comfort, feeling out of control around food, or overwhelmed by all the conflicting messages about what you should be eating? Well, you're not alone. And the good news is that midlife and beyond can be the perfect time to break free. In this episode, I talk with my good friend, Mindy Gorman-Plutzer. And Mindy's a certified functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioner, board certified integrative health coach, and certified eating psychology coach. And she weaves together all of these practices as well as mind body science. So, to help people create a path forward that feels liberating rather than restrictive when it comes to food. She has a new book about to be released called Midlife Metamorphosis, where she'll share tools from this book that so you can learn different techniques you can put into your life. I'm excited to share something called the pause technique, where you'll learn the PAUSE. Each one stands for something that you can do really, really impactful. And what do you do? You'll learn if you're one of the people that just feels, I'm just not enough. What is the first thing you can do? And in this episode, you'll also learn a concept called radical acceptance and how putting that into your life can be so transformative. So, this episode is full of lots of great information that I really think is life changing. So, stay tuned. Welcome, Mindy. I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast.
Oh, Margie, it's always wonderful to be with you.
Before we even get started, I just have to give you a shout out. This book is so good. I remember when you wrote your first book. How long ago was that?
That was 12 years ago.
Wow. Mindy and I, for everybody on the podcast, Mindy and I go back a really long time. We both studied integrative nutrition together. And so we've been with each other on our journeys. And it's just so amazing, though, to see this culmination of this book, Midlife Metamorphosis. It's just wonderful. And I think my favorite part about it is there's so many things to do. You give strategies that everybody can put into their life. So it's really great. I'm just so proud of you for doing this. And I
Oh,
really think it's going to change so many lives. So anyway, but besides that, thank you for being here because you always have so much wisdom to share. And, I just love the message that you convey. So I'm excited
oh,
to
thank you, Margie. But I have to say that it's been so wonderful being on this journey with you. I think it's, oh goodness, at least 15 years since we have been working so hard to perfect our scopes of practice and just be the best we can be for our communities.
Yeah, it's so true. I mean, there's really no one that knew me from day one when I added, as a physical therapist, people knew me, but not when I added the health coaching and how both of us are going to turn this into online and help more people. And, we've just been with each other step by step. So when I see this second book, it just makes me so, so happy. So let's just talk about that because your first book was outstanding. The 7 Steps to Food Freedom. That was amazing. So why did you even write Midlife Metamorphosis?
Okay, well, first of all, you know that like you, my work comes from where I am in my life. And I truly believe that we are each the expert of our experience and therefore can be the master of our own healing. So when I wrote the Freedom Promise, 7 Steps to Stop Fearing What Food Could Do to You and Start Embracing What It Can Do for You, it was more or less a memoir. There was some self-help, but I came to that book from the perspective of an eating psychology coach. I had not yet done my training in functional medicine nutrition. When I completed that, I realized that there needed to be a better way to approach our bodies, to take the eating psychology to the next level by helping women understand that what's missing for so many of us is that deep connection to our bodies. And here I am, a woman really past midlife. and I wanted to just really write a love letter to the thousands of extraordinary women who have come to me over the last 3 decades carrying the weight of a broken relationship with food in their bodies. And this is not a diet book at all, but it's a book about transforming the way you think about and honor your body. Um, Women are not broken. Our bodies are not problems to be fixed. It's just the methods that are being thrown at us daily are failing us and certainly confusing us. Um, and the truth is, I wrote this book because I'm really tired of watching the multi-billion-dollar diet industry profit from our dissatisfaction, filling us with myths designed to undermine what is really our capacity to trust what truly nourishes us. So if you're a woman who is concerned with putting weight on, a woman who's concerned with taking weight off, or just a woman who is concerned and curious and unsure of what she should be fueling her body with, this book is for you.
It was interesting to me because I mean the book's coming out very soon, and Mindy was gave me a copy beforehand, so I was able to read it. But really, what I thought was that this book is for everybody because there are so many. What I hear all the time is like, I know what to eat. I know what's healthy for my body. I know what's healthy for my bones. But, I was upset, so I ate that piece of chocolate cake and then they were so furious with themselves, or I did this, people doing things and they don't, I guess it's emotional eating is what you'd call it, but they just, it's a way of calming themselves down, a way of, just relaxing with food. So using food as, just as a way to, as a tool, actually, when that's, there's other tools, and I know that's what you teach, but that's what I see a lot, that people, they know what to do, but they just, they use food for comfort from other issues. And I know you discuss that a lot in this book.
Yeah, well, so much of our own healing has to start with our why, right? So, when it comes to food, we have to realize that our very first experience with being nurtured and nourished has to do with being fed. And the brain remembers that, right? I mean, we're born without any feelings, we're born without an ego, no sense of autonomy. And yet we're thrust into this world. The first thing that we experience is being warmed and comforted. And the feeding comes right after that. So the brain remembers eat, feel better. And that stays with us forever. And then, of course, you add to that the cultural messages, the memories of a beloved grandmother's recipe that she made on the holidays. There are so many things that happen in our lives that we can bring with us, so to speak, to the table. No pun intended, right? And sometimes food becomes something that we question what it's going to do to us. We need to start thinking about what it can do for us. And you know that I have a different definition of emotional eating. It's not always a bad thing, right? Okay, so there's emotional eating, so as in response to an emotionally charged situation, right? Like what you're talking about. You come home from a bad day, you might have an argument with your kids, your spouse, maybe work didn't go the way you wanted to, or you're just plain tired, or you're just plain bored. And then there's eating so as not to feel emotion. And that really becomes problematic because the first thing I described, you can usually stop when you've had enough. But that can lead to what I just described, which many describe as a binge. But then there's eating with emotion. There's bringing emotion to the table. There's experiencing your food. There is that wonderful memory of a beloved grandmother's recipe. That's what's missing for a lot of us. And what diet culture has done, it has taken away that permission slip. It has made us stop and question, should I be eating this? What am I doing to myself? What's in the food? And I think it's been taken too far. So, we have to discover what food can do for us. We can discover how the way we eat impacts what we eat. We can heal the disconnect between our mind and our bodies. We can learn to honor our appetites and understand how stress sabotages our efforts. We also have to remember that so many of us, from my generation, I'm sure yours, were members of the Clean Plate Club, right? They had to eat everything that was on their plate or else they couldn't XYZ. Well, those messages only served to teach us that we couldn't trust our bodies. We couldn't trust our hunger, that somebody else knew what was better for us. And we carry those messages with us throughout our lives. So we need to, after shift, heal, we need to reclaim. We reclaim our power to make empowered choices from within, from a place of gratitude, from a place of abundance, from a place of compassionate acceptance, and ultimately forgiveness.
Hey, Margie here. As a physical therapist, I know firsthand how important exercise is for our bones, overall health, and happiness. And unfortunately, there's a lot of confusion on what exercises are safe and effective for people with osteoporosis. That's why I created this handout that contains a 30-minute video where I explain the concepts so you understand the do's and don'ts when it comes to exercise. And this is important because this way you can go into any class and know what you should be doing and what you should avoid. Because too many people are doing exercises that actually increase their risk of spinal fractures. I also included videos of me demonstrating effective balance, posture, and weight-bearing exercises you can put into your day right away. So all you need to do to access this handout, it's free, is go to tinyurl.com/osteoporosis exercises. So it's tinyurl.com, again, /osteoporosis exercises, or you can click the link in the show notes. Now back to the show. Yeah. Oh, I love this. No, it's so powerful. I think that's the best part sometimes. And also what you're saying is besides all those messages, we live in a distracted world. People are doing 10 things at once, so they're not even tuning in. They are so distracted with what they're doing while they're eating that sometimes they just don't even get these messages. So, yeah, this
Yeah.
is so I in the book, you have concepts that you talk about a lot, radical acceptance. And what is that? I think it's great. And what does that mean for women in midlife? Like what when you're talking
Okay.
about, what are you trying to convey here?
Well, what's important to understand is radical acceptance, what it's not. It is not passive resignation. It's not letting yourself go. It's an active choice. It means caring for yourself from a place of love, from a place of abundance, not fear. It's setting boundaries, not setting restrictions. And it's trusting your body's wisdom over external noise. It's also accepting where we are in the season of life that we're in. Accepting that maybe the softness in our bellies was once where we carried a baby, right? Where our arms are needed to hug the ones we love, where our legs carry us through chores, help us to run with our grandchildren. That's acceptance. I will say that I talk a lot about loving our bodies. I don't always love what I see in the mirror, but I know that it's been a very full and beautiful and blessed life that got me here. Through the losses, through the pain, through all the lessons. And that's what midlife does for us. That's the blessing of midlife. So when I say radical acceptance, it's really more about compassionate acceptance. It's knowing that every choice we make and every choice we've made throughout the decades of our lives was the best we could do at the time.
Wow, I just love that. It's so true. And it's just a really great way to reframe that. Like, oh, what's my sagging arm or what's this? No, where has this gotten me this life? That's really beautiful, Mindy. So you've always been talking about food freedom. When I think of that, I think of you. Do you want to share how that applies? How do you look at that
Yeah,
concept now?
yeah, definitely. Now, food freedom, I'm going to also talk about what it's not. Food freedom is not about eating whatever you want whenever you want it. Food freedom is about making choices confidently from that place of abundance, not from a place of scarcity, because you've connected and you know what makes your body feel best. And that will look different for everybody. You know, we all have an ecosystem within a microbiome that is as unique as our fingerprints. And when we listen to the wisdom of our bodies, the symptoms, which are really messengers that our bodies are sending to us, we quiet the noise so we can listen. We can make choices that serve us. So it's not about taking radical acceptance to an extreme and letting everything go. It's about making choices that you know serve you and serve your best self.
Yeah, I love that. In this community, sometimes the issue is healthy food. We're
Mhm.
told so much, eat this, eat that, don't eat this, don't eat that. There's oxalates, there's toxins. And I mean, I'm guilty of this myself, preaching some of the
Mhm.
research. But on the other end, the receiving person receiving it, it turns into overwhelm sometimes. And
No
sometimes what
question.
happens with all of this information is instead of taking action, somebody just sort of freezes because they don't know what to do. So what's your suggestion for that whole issue when you're getting, you have the freedom to choose, but you're getting so much information that, as I said, it can turn to overwhelm.
To shut out the information, shut out the noise of the information, basically. Understand where it's coming from. Yes, each of us probably have a handful of mentors and experts that we rely on, and we've got to stay in our lane. And that's who we have to trust. Your community needs to stay in the lane and trust you. I hope mine does the same. We share information because we trust each other. But it really comes down to trusting ourselves, learning to know what's right. I have said after my own experience with gut issues that I was eating the healthiest diet on earth, but my body didn't agree because I was still having symptoms, and I needed to really address who I was an eater, why I was eating those foods. I was recognizing the voice that wasn't mine. I needed to reject the lies that were being thrown at me from a diet industry or a nutrition industry that was telling me, eat this, don't eat that. And I needed to reclaim the trust and honor that I need to show to my body and radically accept where I am in this season of life. So, in the book, I have an exercise that I like to share with my clients. It's called the pause method. And I know you like this very much. So, what is the pause method? It's P, stop, and take a full breath. We all need to do that, no matter what the trigger is in our lives. Before we respond, we always need to pause. The A is for awareness. Notice what you're feeling physically and notice what you're feeling emotionally. If that's the issue that you're facing with choosing to self-soothe with food, understand, what am I really feeling now? What am I really hungry for? What is my body telling me with these messages? And then select, choose an option that is right for you. And sometimes that selection process means experimenting. You don't have to get it right all the time. And that's really important. That's part of the acceptance piece, the compassion piece, to understand that we're experimenting, we're learning, we're exploring. And midlife gives us that luxury. And finally, evaluate. So after responding, evaluate how you feel. So pause, awareness, understanding, select, and evaluate.
I love this. That was one of my favorite. I'm reading this, I'm thinking, yes, this is great for food, but this is great for everything because the
Everything.
triggers happen and we don't stop. We just react. And that's when all the I mean, that's when all havoc breaks loose. But the pause and then saying each thing, the P, the A, the U, the S, the E, having steps for that, I thought was brilliant. And I think it's something that could just help everyone in so many situations, even besides food, really.
Oh, yeah, the uncomfortable conversations that we sometimes have to have with our adult children, right? The uncomfortable conversations that we sometimes have to have with our healthcare professionals. the uncomfortable conversations that we sometimes have to have with our spouses, and sometimes the uncomfortable conversations that we have to have with ourselves.
Yeah, so true. So I loved that. That was one of my faves. I mean, there are a lot of them though. That's what I thought was so great about your book. So why don't you tell people, like, what will they be able so through this book, which I like, a book is a book. You can read it at your own time. You can, it's there. It's not like, okay, you have 1 hour. It's there and you can digest it in small pieces, which is another thing that I like. But so what will this book help for people shift, heal, reclaim? Like, what will they be able to, what would you
Mhm.
like to share that people will be able to do once they, read the
So I unpack not just what I refer to as the broken promises of diet culture and the exhausting pursuit of body perfection, but the specific journey from confusion, deprivation, in many cases restriction, to that radical and compassionate acceptance I talk about. It's a roadmap that I wish I had 20 years ago. So in the book, you go chapter by chapter, and there's a lot in there that relates to my first book, to the 7 steps to stop fearing what food will do to you. But I've added the layer of my training from functional medicine nutrition. So there's a lot in here about gut health. There's a lot about hormone health, particularly as it relates to women in midlife. The book is really geared for those of us 50 and above. Whereas even my daughters who are in their very late 40s can relate to a lot of this book. So women basically going through perimenopause, menopause, and beyond. So as I said, it's gut health, it's hormone health, it's stress management, it's looking at how we're moving, looking at our relationships beyond food. There is one chapter that I refer to as Nutrition 101, but it's really a small part of this 320-page book. What I love about the book, and I'm so proud of, is at the end of every chapter, besides a chapter summary, you're going to get exercises to do to follow up on what you read about. You're going to get journal prompts. You're going to get a paragraph about how you can look forward using the information that you gained from that chapter. At the end of the book is an entire chapter devoted to food for thought. These are questions for group discussion. And my intention for those questions is to be used maybe for your book club, or if you're a practitioner, take it to your groups and use it there. It truly, truly is food for thought and helps us examine who we are in our lives and examine and really appreciate the gifts of midlife.
Yeah, the interesting thing to me about the whole book was, I guess, the first part, with all the exercises, they all take you to another place of self-discovery. Because sometimes we miss that. Sometimes we don't stop and look what's really going on. And we just try to figure out solutions or fix this, fix that. But I think what I like so much about the book is you make us stop. You make us stop and ask ourselves these questions, figure out our triggers, figure out so that, and I think only when you figure that out can you really then you'll know the right actions to take and you'll know, what tools will best suit you, whether it's the journal prompts or whatever it is. That's what I think was so great, just to sometimes stop, and we don't do that. And your background working before we even met, before you even became a health coach, you were working in weight loss for how many years? So many years. You've been part of this scene and have worked and helped so many people that I just think it's incredible that, you've put this all together in a book. So what
Yeah.
else would you like to tell? You know,
But I wanted to just speak to that for a second because one of the great things that I say to my clients all the time or in my blogs and my newsletter is always about true transformation. Transformation is less about what we do to change and more about what we let go of in an effort to become the change. Become the change we want to see, become the change that we want to put out into the world. And that's why I wanted to add this workbook part to the book, because it's one thing to read about it, it's another to take action. And in order to become the change we want to see, we have to take action. And I quote a mentor of mine, Jen Gottlieb, in her book, Be Seen. She states, discomfort is temporary, growth is permanent.
Yeah, I love
And I
that.
think that's something that we really, really have to remember. And the other takeaway is, yes, since 1995, I have been working in a capacity to help women change their relationship with food. And until 2000, I guess 2010, when you and I became board certified health coaches, I was basically helping women make their bodies go away. I was feeding into the lies, propagating the fact that you needed to eat this, not to eat that. But it felt so disingenuous to me, you know, so disingenuous. And, I was still also struggling with my own disordered relationship with food at the time. So here I was, the nutrition counselor during the day, and at night, I was just like you, standing in the kitchen at 11 o'clock, eating from a bag of chocolate chips. When I started to study health coaching, what that did for me was it taught me how to ask the right questions, but I had to start asking them of myself first. And that led me down the path to discovering who I was as an eater, who I was as a woman, and who was the woman I wanted to be. And that was why I pursued all of the other trainings. And here I am. And as I said in the beginning of our conversation, this book is a love letter to all those women who are questioning themselves, who feel they're not enough, who wonder what the rest of their lives is going to look for them. They can rewrite their story. We can all rewrite our story and turn the page on what's no longer working for us, whether it has to do with our weight, our health, our relationships, and start rewriting what will become our happily ever after.
I love that, and it's a very big problem for many people, the "I am not enough." That's a
Yes.
belief that so many people
Mhm.
hold, and it's a limiting belief that disrupts, I think, every aspect
Mhm.
of people's lives. I know in the book you give so many things, but for everybody listening who's like, "Oh my gosh, that's me," you wanna just share, like, one thing maybe people can start for they're saying, "Yeah, that's me, I'm not enough." What would you share?
Yeah, I
Maybe
think the
somewhere to
first
start.
step
Yeah.
with no matter what transformation you're looking for is start with curiosity instead of criticism. Notice how you talk to yourself about food, about relationships, about your health, about your body, and think about how you would talk to a friend that way. That's the start. Start by noticing and leave the criticism behind. Get curious, become an observer of your own life.
Yeah.
That's where we start.
I think that's a great step because the truth is we can be so kind to everybody else.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we can be just really not nice to ourselves and so degrading. And so I think that's a wonderful place to start. So, Minzy, okay, the book's going to be available. We'll have the link in the show notes. We'll have everything set for people so they can, but also it's what I thought's great. In the book, you give additional resources. Do you
Yeah.
want to share what resources?
Yeah. So there are links to wonderful resources. There is a link to my recipe book, Recipes for Resilience, which is a wonderful collection of recipes that are really designed to nourish your soul as well as your body. And all of these recipes are intended to be full of ingredients that help with stress reduction, brain health, heart health, everything that a woman in midlife and beyond needs. Bone health, my dear friend Margie. So everything is geared for that, but they're wonderfully nourishing and comforting recipes. You also are going to get a guide to essential oils that go hand in hand with my 7 steps to food freedom, specially curated guide for that with a link to order the oils that I lay out. You're going to get information about an invitation to join the Fully Nourished Circle, which is where the real transformation happens. It's a membership community where women support each other in choosing nourishment over restriction, acceptance over perfection. And we do this work together because isolation is where dysfunction thrives. And, while the book gives you the framework for the journey, the Fully Nourished Circle provides the ongoing support and community to live it every day. Because knowing the path and walking it are two different things.
So great. I'm just so happy that you took this next step and wrote this book specifically for those in midlife and beyond, because this can really make a big difference. And what about people who want to work with you? What's possible now? What are options available?
Well, I'm certainly encouraging women to join me in the Fully Nourished Circle because that's where the magic happens. Of course, I see clients one on one. I have a 3-month program that is comprehensive where we go through all the steps to stop fearing what food will do to you. We dive into one's gut health and hormone health and everything that comes up for you. It's a highly nuanced program, extremely bio-individual, um, where I offer daily support and weekly one-on-one meetings. Um, and that, of course, you can contact me, Mindy at thefreedompromise.com, for any information about that. I will also give Margie a link to my discovery call, my free discovery call, if that interests you, and we can get to know each other and talk about what might be the best fit for you.
Oh, well, that's great. Mindy, for those listening, Mindy's been my go-to. Anyone who has any issues at all with food, write to Mindy. And you've helped all ages too, I have to say, because you've worked with people with anorexia. I mean, you've worked with people at all different ages and with all issues in this, in the eating spectrum. So you've been
Yes.
so very effective. And, I just think because there are not that many people that specialize in the type of work that you do with the psychology component, with the functional nutrition. It's really quite different than, a lot what's out there in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, my work had evolved. After I finished the eating psychology certification, and then I pursued the training in functional medicine nutrition, I really believed that there had to be a better way to approach eating disorder recovery. What I had seen with clients that were coming to me after treatment wasn't working. It wasn't sustainable. For many people, their treatment, even residential, was traumatic. It was dehumanizing. It took away total control, which was not a good fit for many of these people. So I wanted to present a more empowered way. I took away the belief that in order to be committed to recovery, you needed to follow an all foods fit diet, because after years of restriction and purging and binging and the stress that brings with it physically, emotionally, and psychologically, forcing people to eat all kinds of foods is doing nothing but feeding their anxiety. So I created a program based on that. But I've since evolved and wanted to work with women on the entire spectrum of their relationship with food. Just, plenty of women are just suffering from what I refer to as disordered eating today, which is basically misguided behavior that is driven by misinformation. I'm going to say that again. Misguided behavior that is driven by misinformation. So you can apply that to food, diet, health, wellness. Everybody is so busy looking outside of themselves for the answer, whether it be a scale, whether it be a tracker, whether it be an app, when we need to look inside ourselves and realize that our highest power is really our deepest self.
Beautiful. I love that. So is there anything else? I always enjoy being with you. Is there anything else
Oh,
you want to share with everybody before we end?
I just want to say that, when I say letting go, this is something else that's important. letting go doesn't mean let yourself go. Letting go means releasing the impossible standards that you've set for yourself that that were never yours to carry. It means going toward yourself with kindness, not away from yourself with shame. And it means letting go of messages and toxic beliefs that are no longer true for you. And to understand that you're not betraying the messenger by letting go, you're honoring yourself.
Yeah, that's just so beautiful, and that's gonna really number 1, it's going to make you a much happier person, right? We hold on to so much that really robs us of our joy, and when your joy gets back in your life, stress is reduced, it'll also help your bones. It's just such a win-win and a much better way to live that unfortunately many people don't realize. So the sooner one can realize and start doing these practices, I just think, to me, that's the foundation of health. This is what's the most important. Everything else builds upon it. So I love that you shared this. I'm so excited for your book to get out to the world. I just can't wait to hear. And yes, and for everybody who listens, please let me know what you think or what practices you've used. I always love to hear how something you learned from the podcast can impact your life, which I know this book can because it's, there's so much in it. So thank you so much, Mindy, and
Oh,
good luck. I know it's like a baby, right? You put it out into the world. So I can't wait to hear about it and, just wish you the best with it. And thank you so much for all the amazing work you're doing in the world and lives you're
thank you.
changing.
Oh, and you, Margie, thank you. You really are a mentor to so many and have so much wisdom and offer so much. Thank you for who you are and everything you do. And let's just keep going, you and I.
Yes, we're only getting better, right, Mint?
No question.
Exactly. We do both practice what we preach. I think that's also really important, and I think that's the only way to be authentic is if you truly are doing what you say you are doing. And I know you do that. So anyway, thanks so much. Always great to see you and best of luck with the book.
Thanks, Margie.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Mindy and really do take what she said seriously because what she talked about can really transform your life in such a positive way. I'm so excited about her new book, Midlife Metamorphosis. It's fabulous and it's just full of so many self help techniques that will not only transform your relationship with food, but can really help other areas of your life as well. So I'll have all the links for you in the show notes. So thank you so much for tuning in. Please share this with anyone that you think can benefit. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.